Great to see you.
Scott, great to see you, man. Thanks for coming.
Superstar.
He's going to just leave us and go over and hang with Talia.
Yeah. That's the real star.
How are you? What were you doing?
Okay.
Were you
all right. So I did not want to be late for you, Talia. All right. So 5:40.
Yeah.
You said walk, right? I said 4 minutes, and then you said you might want to Uber, and I put it back in. It was a 1.2 miles. So Uber was supposed to be there 5:40. I'm on the other side of the hotel. 2 Ubers come. It is 6:05. I'd gotten in 2 wrong Ubers. Like you're talking, they're pointing, you're coming in. And then people are like, hey, coach, you know, because I'm trying to find an Uber.
You are Scott Drew.
I'm getting kicked out of the Ubers. And then finally, I get the right Uber, and I drive all the way. It took 30 minutes to go the other side of the hotel.
Yep.
Like, So I apologize.
All right, you're good. You're here. You're good. You're in Houston. I don't know if you thought you'd maybe be here at the Final Four.
Every year you think you're going to be at the Final Four.
Every year.
That's true. That's true.
You're an eternal optimist.
15 years.
Okay.
We just wanted to get in the tournament 15 years ago. Yeah.
No doubt. Yeah,
2008 was the first one in.
Was that your?
Yeah, first one. The last time we had won a tournament game was 1950. And 2008 was only the second time I think we'd been in the tournament since 1950.
How different is it for you now? You and I have talked about this a little bit off. But how different is it for you now when you come to a Final Four as opposed to even as recently as 5 years ago?
Everyone always wants 21 national champs. So I don't know if that's what goes on eBay or something, but like it's that set thing. But it's a blessing to have a lot more people recognize Baylor basketball and appreciate just what the coaches and players have built over the last 20 years. And as a guy that's been there, it's a lot of pride because a lot of times before people look at it and BU, what's that? And is that a soccer team? Is that whatever? And now they know Baylor and what we've done and what it stands for.
I got to ask you about your conference this year. Big 12, to me, the best conference in the sport. It's not often you see teams at the bottom of the quote-unquote standings list that are fighting for NCAA tournament spots with like a 6-14 record in conference play. Have you ever seen anything like that?
No, with the net ratings and going into conference play, I mean, I think everybody had been ranked at one point, and not just ranked, like we had a lot of guys ranked in the top 10, 15, and each and every night you'd look at the non-conference and their net rating, and then you'd look at what was happening in conference, and people would be 7th best offense or defense, and then you look at the national rank and they'd be 17th or 20th. You're like, it's crazy. So it was one of those special years. But I can tell you that it seems like every year the parity in college basketball, and this might be the culmination of just the parity of it.
Conference realignment's coming. Obviously, you guys are going to add some new teams in. How does that help you? First, how does that hurt you on the other side? Because you had 10 teams, every one of them are great. As you alluded to, offensive, defensive efficiency. Every time you played somebody according to the net, you just went up 2 spots no matter what. So how does it help you? How does it hurt you?
Well, how it helps me is hopefully we only have to play Coach Tang and Coach McCaslin once a year, right? That's what I'm hoping for the help. And yeah, so that's the hopefully how it helps. As far as anxious to see because the teams we added are really good programs. And
Huggins, you know what Huggs said last night?
What'd he say?
He said they got to have a rude awakening.
Well, I think anybody coming from any other conference, the Big 12, the last 6 out of 7 years, the toughest conference. And I mean, when your bottom team is a team that's a postseason worthy team, it is an adjustment. But I know the teams we added, I mean, that tradition, coaches, players, they're going to fit right in and hopefully make the league stronger.
You've had talented guys, a lot of them, throughout especially recent memory. Keontae George is a guy that can score with anybody. How would you compare him? What do you see his NBA ceiling going towards and things like that? Because I'm fascinated with the kid ever since we watched him in Birmingham at the Adidas circuit a few years ago. I mean, so talented. Where do you think his ceiling is at the next level?
Well, and that's why the NBA like him so much is because they know that, first of all, if you're an NBA exec, this is uncharted waters because you have 18-year-olds playing against 24-year-olds.
Exactly.
And they're used to playing against 22, maybe occasional 23, but not 24-year-olds. So it's been really hard for freshmen this year. And then with that, Keontae's somebody that I know in the McDonald's game, the first question was body-wise. He's got to get a lot better. He put in the work. He really improved that. And then he showed flashes with multiple 20-plus games, 30-plus games. And
He showed flat. It was
he can,
unbelievable when he would get
and he showed
hot.
improvement
Crazy.
in the defense, and he could show that he could play the point guard. He's got to get rid of the home run passes, but I tell you what, he sees things that you can't teach. So a lot of people are really excited about that.
Today's episode of the Field of 68 After Dark is presented by our partners over at Underdog Fantasy, the easiest place to play college basketball pick'em, where you can win real cash prizes simply by picking player stats in this weekend's Final Four games. And pick'em, all you do is pick whether a player will go higher or lower on Underdog's projected totals, whether it's points or rebounds or assists or all of them combined. If you're like me and you think Adama Sanogo is going to go nuts this weekend, pick higher on his points projection, pick higher on his rebounds projection, maybe throw in a lower on Matt Bradley's scoring totals, a higher on Isaiah Wong, whatever it is that you like. Put them all together, and if you hit them all, then you can win as much as 20 times your money on a single game. Underdog's slick mobile app is easy enough that dummies like Jeff Goodman have even figured out how to use it. So go to UnderdogFantasy.com or download the app and use the code FIELD, that's FIELD, to get a 100% deposit match up to $100.
All right, were you at the head coaches meeting today?
Yes, I
NBC?
was. Yes, I was.
So a source told me that you talked a little bit about the 2 summer exhibitions.
Yeah, I saw your tweets. I read all your tweets.
Hey, Cal's been a proponent of this. This was kind of his.
Yeah.
I always feel like if Cal's a proponent of something, it's going to help Cal. So ultimately, a lot of mid and low major guys don't really want this. It's 2 summer exhibitions starting in 2024 in which you can kind of play anybody you want it to be regionally. I guess it wouldn't be during weekdays. I don't really understand it, to be honest, because most of you guys are trying to tell me, hey, we don't really want more in the summer at this point. We want to be with our families a little. You know, we got so many days we're out now between the international things we can go to. What's your take on this? I mean, is this what we need? I mean, I guess for the exposure of the sport, is it really going to help that much?
Well, I think the word is that we've used is flexibility with that. And if it's not right for your program, don't do it. If you want to go down and play the school that's 10 miles away, do it. And if you want your assistant coaches to coach it, great. If you want to play everybody, if you want to treat it like one of those scrimmages, I don't think there's been much stuff put down in it. But like those 2 games that we're able to play, people sometimes do exhibition and then if you do a private scrimmage,
in October.
Yeah, you can go and play 2 or 3 20-minute halves. Like, so do it however it benefits your program. And for those that want exposure and want to have a game where fans can attend, then do that. So I think it's just something that get them talking about college basketball with doing it.
You
again,
like it. You like
I like it from the standpoint, I'd probably have our assistant coaches coach it, and I'd probably have it where it's maybe one's a closed scrimmage where you play everybody 20, 30 minutes. And then, so it's just something when there's no college basketball to talk about, now there is.
Yeah.
You talked about age and how important that is in this little era, whatever you want to call it, this window with the extra COVID year, right? I mean, I think 21 and a half is the average age of players in the Final Four this year. You've had success building rosters in a variety of ways, transfers, freshmen, all of that. Has your approach changed given these last few years?
Well, in college basketball nowadays, once you figure it out, something changes. So you got to readjust what you're doing. I think everybody's learned in real time just the importance of age. And what I mean by that, it's hard because if you're used to recruiting high school kids, you're recruiting high school kids, and then all of a sudden you're like, wait a minute, you can't play a ton of high school kids against 23, 24-year-olds and be successful, and maybe we need to rethink it. So I do know that I heard one announcer say this during the year, and I do feel for the high school seniors out there. If my son was a high school senior, and all of a sudden, instead of him getting recruited to nothing because people are all playing a 5th year of college basketball or a 6th year, that's something that me as a coach, I didn't think about that when they gave everybody a COVID year.
All right, I'm going to tag out to your favorite reporter.
Oh, they're bringing in the superstar. We go in the bullpen. She's throwing heat.
All right.
She's
Theo's
throwing
gonna
heat.
tag out. You can go over there.
How are you doing?
How are you doing?
I am doing excellent. So I can always tell when you're by because your dad's always smiling. All right, and he couldn't be more proud of you.
Here. You know that.
I convinced him to let me come. After I couldn't go to the women's tournament, I was planning on going, hoping, but couldn't go there. Called him, like crying, begging him to let me come here.
Yeah, he's a softie, isn't he? You know.
He is. He really is.
It's hard to say no. No, it's hard to say no when you only got one. It's even harder to say no.
So for those that don't know, watching the show, Talia Goodman, Jeff Goodman's
Oh,
daughter.
hi.
Also, Baylor insider. Is that fair to say? I mean,
Yeah. She is.
She breaks Baylor news.
Actually, she's on top of everything in college. So I mean,
I do my best.
you've done a great job
Go
this
ahead.
year.
What do you got for Scott?
I don't know. We're here at the Final Four. It's a little bit weird. We got a 4 seed, we got 2 5 seeds, we got a 9. Who's your pick? Who, if you had to take a guess, who do you think has, the biggest probability of winning it all? in
Well,
your eyes?
I think if this tournament in the Final Four is anything like the rest of the tournament, probably Fort Atlantic wins it. So I mean, like, once you think you got it figured out, or this is the team, I mean,
Yeah.
and this has been amazing as far as.
Do you like it? Because
Right.
we like it, I think, the diehards, but obviously you're worried about the fans, the overall casual fan not really tuning in. The ratings are going to be down. Houston might not be the atmosphere that, we're accustomed to. Do you worry about that with the sport the way it is, or not really?
No, not at all. But I can tell you, it's that much harder to win in the NCAA tournament. One of our I'm gonna pull up a stat real quick as you guys are looking that someone sent me, and this is just winning one game in the tournament. I think there's only been.
By the way, Scott, while he's looking at that, wants to expand the tournament to 256 teams.
No. It was 128, and
that's close.
and the reason, okay, was because being at Valpo, like you could win the tournament. Coach Mills was at Oral Roberts. They were 18-0, and if they would have lost, and now we see that. Remember when we grew up 16 versus 1? That's a 40, 50 point game.
Yeah.
If it was within 20, everyone was like, "Can you believe it?" Now there are none of those games. I mean, that's the exception. I mean, all these games are so close and hotly contested. Like, I'm gonna
Give me your stat.
yeah,
Did you find it? You
Yep.
lost?
So no, this is good. Right here. Only Gonzaga, Kansas, and Houston and Baylor. So 4 teams have won at least one game in the tournament the last 4 years.
Wow.